What if I told you that there's a chance that Sakamoto doesn't survive in the end because of someone's OP ability? These are the 18 strongest assassins in Sakamoto Days, and we're starting with the sniper who got his mojo back, Heisuke Mashimo. I love how this guy went from an insecure assassin to someone with the audacity to go one-on-one with the Order's record-breaking sniper, Kamihate, the Order's resident long-range Terminator, and Heisuke used his small, big-brain energy to outsmart him like a G. Like, he curved the bullet around an entire building and hit Kamihate, and also violated the laws of physics, like that James McAvoy movie. Heisuke is a long way away from what he was before, a deflated assassin who was always clowned hard by all of his colleagues, because he was only a sniper and had no other talents. I can't even lie though, my guy was clumsy as F in the past. And if anyone from X's group confronted him then, he would have been a hashtag RIP by now. Even Shin could have wrecked his shit in one. And he almost went down a spiral later in chapter 127, when a civilian got hit while he was helping Hyo fight Kumanomi in Thailand. But Buddy got his mojo back during a sniper battle with Kamihate. I mean, sure, if you want to cry about all the small details, Kamihate did surrender and run away in the end because Heisuke saw his face, but that still counts as a W for our boy, right? A win is a win, an inch or a mile. But yo man, the dude's a secret badass though. He's become a legend among students in JCC. Like, I died when I finally realized he was actually the #1 ranking on the shooter list. Like, he beat Sakamoto's all-time high score in target shooting in JCC. Imagine assembling a gun and unloading 96 shots all within 1 minute. Like, brother fast. Students from the JCC know him as the Dragoon, a mysterious marksman who has the tattoo of a bullseye on his forehead, with wings on his back, like he's a sniper version of the Angel of Death or something. But of course, that's an exaggeration because the tattoo's actually on his cheek, and they're referring to Peacecape for the wings. But what he lacks for in hand-to-hand combat, he makes up for with gun smarts. Heisuke can ricochet his bullets and hit anyone from any angle. Sakamoto also acknowledged just how incredible of a sniper he is, and Sakamoto's seen what Kamihate can do. And though Shin gets irritated about how childish his thought process is, or in simpler words, how bro's common sense runs on dial-up speed, the one thing you can count on him with is that he always has his family's back, even against a psycho like Tenkyu. Speaking of the unhinged lunatic, let me ask you what happens when an orphanage built to train top-quality assassins succeeds a little too well. You get a scary, effective hitman, coupled with the emotional maturity of a drunk text at 2 AM. In reality, the Alkamar orphanage trained Tenkyu too hard. He became the perfect assassin. Great skills, no emotions, all psycho serial killer energy. Like, he's so effed up, even his bro, Uzuki, thinks he's too dangerous to join his group. Which says something because they've been friends since childhood. They had a falling out because the madman suggested using Sakamoto's family as bait by killing them. The homicidal maniac part does remind me a lot of Mahito. But I can't deny that this guy had some overpowered moves up his sleeve, even though he's mostly topless. For one, he's got that wicked strong composite bow that makes Hawkeye look mid. The string can't be cut, and it can't even be pulled or bent by the average assassin. Like, what the hell is the string made out of? Adamantium? And he's slick with it. He uses it normally with arrows, but can also add so much force behind it, it literally makes his target explode. He can even put a spin on it by twisting the string around the arrow. Bro almost took out Shin's arm for fun. He can also use it as a catapult, with every other thing around him as projectiles for it. Yeah, he's like Sakamoto, who uses everything in his environment to his advantage. Be it his own tooth, rebar, or Heisuke's own bullet that just fired. And the string's so damn tough, he can use it as a guillotine. He's so versatile, he almost blew Heisuke's head off by pointing the bow behind him and using his feet to pull the string. Compared to the other orphans at Alkamar, like Kumanomi and Haruma, he's a lot stronger. I could just imagine him blowing up Kumanomi's hands with a pebble if they ever fought. But when Shin went the Isagi route and forced his brain to work at peak performance, Tenkyu started to lose. And now that we're talking about Shin, why in the hell did it take him so long to discover the next evolution of his powers? My guess is he's been holding himself back, like a stubborn Pikachu who refuses to evolve because he wants to stay kawaii. Because I don't know if you realize, but when he found out he had psychic powers and can read minds, he only focused on the read minds aspect of it. I mean, he sharpened that skill so much that he can basically see the immediate future and anticipate his enemies' attacks before they make them. But after that, he stopped. Like, it took an explosion for his brain to go, oh, bro, you have some other potential you haven't tapped into yet. Here's one. Then boom, mind control. But once he realized the scope of this new power though, my guy proved he could be creative with it for real. I mean, dudes like Professor X, if he was trained to be an assassin, and didn't skip leg day, and had beautiful blonde hair. After that concussive explosion, Shin can now use simple commands to stop people in their tracks. But during the fight with Tenkyu, he realized 3 things. That he can only mentally command other people once. That he can command his own brain as many times as he likes. And that he can command his brain to process at peak speed. And I dropped to my knees and screamed, "Dear Lord, our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Please let me command my own brain to think faster as well." It's like this scene from the OG Spider-Man. But compared to other assassins on this list, he'd still be nowhere near their abilities. I doubt Shin could fully take on anyone from the Order anytime soon. He could barely touch Satoda Sensei, and he's still no match for Sakamoto. Even Kamihate, who technically lost to Heisuke, would be able to blast his head off from miles away. I don't know if you've noticed, but there's a reason that Kamihate thinks of weather ladies as goddesses. Because to a sniper, the weather can be the real MVP or his biggest hater. Wind can either push your shot and make it more accurate, or send your bullet on a trajectory that resembles erectile dysfunction. Rain messes with your scope, your gear, your whole flow. And don't even get me started on the heat. Mirage waves make it look like the target's groove into a Bollywood production. A real sniper's gotta read the weather like it's the morning news, or else that bullet's flying anywhere but the mark. It's science, skill, and straight up survival. And that's why Kamihate is so obsessed with weather ladies, because their forecasts can make or break his day. But I ain't gonna lie, Kamihate could be one of the weakest members of the Order right now. I mean, sure, he's a goddamn amazing sniper and recognized as the greatest in Ja history, and how he could control an area with a single bullet, like in chapter 136, when he used a spinning tire to shoot Heisuke hiding in an alley. But Taro could sense where his shots came from. Notice how he ducked Shin out of the way in the store, and how he managed to slap a bullet away with a signpost, even after getting hit on the arm. Not to mention, Shin could read his mind the whole time, and even watched an entire soap opera of his backstory. If Shin had decided to attack him then, he could have easily been found. Also, anyone could just cover themselves with a poster of a weather girl, and they're 100% safe from Kamihate's bullets. Bro's too much of a simp to shoot a picture of his goddess, right? Up next is Gaku. Now, you might be wondering how in the world did this guy survive an assault by Old Man Takamura? It's because Gaku has a deadly combo of abilities, amazing physical strength, and a calm mind that knows when to run away. For real, Gaku's so chill, he makes a sloth look stressed out. The day he and X attacked the Tokyo Bureau of Ja, he deleted assassins left and right like he was pruning shrubs and picking up weeds in his backyard, man. And when Old Man Takamura arrived on the scene, he didn't run away in a panic. He assessed the situation and tried to fight the old man at first, before getting a serving of the world-breaking slash that cut Gojo's body in two. Then Gaku was like, dude lost an arm, an ear, and a few fingers during that fight, and if it wasn't for Kashima, he would have lost those forever, except for his ear. He didn't get that back. Reminds me of the time when Hisoka got his arm stitched back by Machi. I think he's been X's right-hand man the entire time because of his laid-back attitude. But that still wasn't enough for him to survive during the assassination exhibition of the Century arc. Nagumo already left him for dead and swapped their appearances to trick Uzuki into bringing him along. He could have survived too had he not pushed himself and tried to save Uzuki from Takamura. But in the end, all he got was a katana to the chest for his troubles. I mean, with sheer strength and physicality, he could probably have defeated Shin and Heisuke, but I doubt he'd survived someone from the Order. Speaking of the Order, Rion could have been a badass addition to that group if it weren't for her weakness, because she had a tendency to get too attached to people. I don't know if you've noticed, but Rion's got a bit of a hero complex, so willing and so eager to take risks to protect the people she cares about. She blatantly says this in chapter 118 when she says she'd kill whoever she had to without hesitation to protect her niece Akira, even if it meant killing her own heart. She was even willing to rock up to the Alkmaar orphanage to save Kei Uzuki's friends even without knowing who they were. But isn't Sakamoto the same way, willing to sacrifice himself for his wife and daughter? But that's the thing, Sakamoto didn't allow them to become his weakness, but kept them as his motivation. For Rion, her attachment to Kei made her freeze up the moment she realized she was fighting him. I mean, here was a woman who could see kill paths to her target, like Tanjiro sees threads to the demon's weak points. Someone who didn't hesitate brawling it out with Sakamoto and Nagumo, but she was still so caught off guard with learning that it was Uzuki in front of her that she froze up for a second. And that moment was all it took for Kei to end her life. Like, she didn't deserve it, of course, but it is what it is. In the assassin world, a second makes all the difference between life and death. Kind of like how Kandaka could have easily cured the poison if he just had a second to drink the antidote. Which brings me to my next point. Why did it take so long for Kandaka to wake up from being poisoned? My theory, Kobayashi's poison was so potent that it took his body a long time to process it out. In chapter 177, it was revealed that it's been 8 years since Kandaka fell into a coma after fighting the assassins sent to kill the wife and daughter of the past chairman of Ja. Kobayashi, one of the assassins, used poison gas in his attacks, but escaping death, the co-founder of the order fell into a coma instead, and Nagumo kept him on life support that whole time. Now, if you didn't know, falling into a coma is like falling into a deep sleep, except no outside stimulus can force a person to wake up. I mean, you can stab a coma patient's hand with a fork and you'd get no response. Don't do that though. That's a dumb thing to do. And just like falling into a deep sleep, the body slowly recovers its damaged parts. The key word there is slowly, unless you're Wolverine or Deadpool. So my guess is the poison in Kandaka's body was so strong that it took about 8 years to flush it out. The doctors that took care of him thought he'd never wake up. But I mean, come on, Kandaka was one of the top assassins of his time. His body should be strong enough to handle a little poison. Even Snow White woke up from that apple, all she needed was a kiss. And immediately after waking up, he proves he's still strong enough. He's back at it again. Kandaka tried collecting Sakamoto's bounty almost immediately after waking up, like your landlord who comes knocking at your door to collect the rent after his nap, only to end up with 2 new students, Shin and Heisuke. He even gave Shin great advice to improve his combat skill by telling him to not neglect and further train his ESP. Up next is the movie buff who takes directing action films a little too far, Kanaguri. Now this may have slipped past you, but have you ever noticed how fast Kanaguri is? Like bro moves so fast he's straight up teleporting. During the JCC entrance exam on the plane, dude once sliced through 8 jaw applicants in a flash, no sweat. And he slid up behind Sakamoto and Akira so smooth, they didn't even notice. Dodged Sakamoto's moves like it was nothing and swiped their bullets, while snatching Akira like a damsel in distress. He's so quick, even Shin's future seeing powers can't keep up, like he's rewriting the future or something. What sucks about Kanaguri though is, he's got too much love for drama. I mean, this mofo shot the pilot of the plane they were on for the drama. He betrayed the order and works with X for the drama. He fought and killed Satora sensei for what? The drama. And bro's so delulu he declared that he's not an assassin, but a filmmaker. That he doesn't have killing skills or weapons, just his first-rate filmmaking ability. Right, tell that to the people you red queened with your clapperboard. But do you know why Atsuko Satora is still stronger than Kanaguri, even though she died by his hand? Simple, it's because of her experience. Look, here's a woman who turned down the offer to be one of the founding members of the Order, the group made up of the top Gs in the assassin world, because she chose to shape the assassins of the future. Someone who's probably encountered many hitmen and psychopaths throughout the years, and survived until the ripe old age of grandma. And she still managed to school Shin as well as Akira, who seems to have inherited her aunt's talent of RIPing people. Even during the battle with Kanaguri, she managed to fend him off from his mission of finding the database, and kept him preoccupied the whole time while Sakamoto and the team were busy saving the day. But that was also the reason why she ended up dying during their fight, because Satora sensei cared too much about the school and the students, while Kanaguri had no bleeps to give about anything but his camera angles. I think, and hear me out, Satora sensei was holding back the entire time, because she was aware that students were all around them, and going all out like Okarun could have destroyed the school or gotten her precious students hurt. Her goal was to keep Kanaguri busy, and that's why she limited Kanaguri and herself by fighting inside the greenhouse, where there was less of a chance of other people getting hurt. When the hypnotized students broke through and distracted her, that's when Kanaguri went in for the kill. And what makes me believe this theory is the fact that even after dying, Satora sensei still managed to protect Sakamoto and Akira by reflex, by giving Kanaguri the Borushiki treatment. Up next is Satoru Yotsumura, the OG founder of the Order himself. Talking about Yotsumura makes me kinda sad, because bro's life is tragic. Like, his wife betrayed him, his son hated him, his own student tried to put him down twice, and he's still on the run and has not been able to clear his name. But this guy is strong. Bro's got the world cleaving slash like Takamura-san, and he can go toe to toe with Shishiba after all these years. He even brushed off Osaragi's welcome greeting. But why was Yotsumura being hunted down all these years? Because Seiyasaki is a sneaky, conniving bastard who wants to tie up his loose ends. I'm not the only one who thinks this, right? Only Seiyasaki benefited from everything that happened. From the death of the previous Ja chairman, Soichiyama, to the destruction of Alkamar Orphanage. Even Yotsumura's wife admitted that she was part of the revolution that was plotting to overthrow the Jaw chairman at the time. Also in Uzuki's flashback, it was Sayasaki who commanded him to kill the chairman's family back then, threatening to hurt the kids from the Alkamar Orphanage. And when the dust settled, who's left to become the chairman of Jaw? That's right, Say mother effin' Asaki. And the orphanage burnt to the ground anyway, like FTW. That corrupt sleazeball deserves a high five to the face with a chair or Osaragi's handsaw. I'm not picky. Speaking of, for someone who looks like she's into scary shit, she's deathly terrified of ghosts. It was hilarious when Seba scared her away by turning invisible. She really thought she saw a ghost, even though she looks like someone who loves the scary stuff herself, you know? Girl's been wearing funeral clothes this whole time, and if I ever saw her in an alley, I'd definitely book it in the opposite direction, you know? I mean, look at the way she crawls out of the hole she made. It's like something out of the Ring, or a yokai who's gonna gobble up my weenie or some shit. But what terrifies me the most about her is that she's not just scary, she's scary strong. For real, this woman's got mad skills. Shishiba hinted at Osaragi starting out as just a regular farm girl, who didn't even need to go to assassin school, which proves she's a straight up natural at taking people out. She also took down Dump, an A-ranked serial killer with over 180 bodies to her name. The geisha, a top-tier assassin who dodged Satoru Yotsumura's cleaving attack, didn't stand a chance against her and got clapped, like that mosquito in the bathroom this morning. Even Carolina Reaper, X's fiery beast, got sliced up when Osaragi caught him slipping. Like the dude looked like he fell into an oversized garbage disposal, with his blood and guts flying everywhere. This woman is built different, and even Shishiba is a little afraid of her. And now that we're talking about him, I have a bad feeling Shishiba will bite the dust at the end of the series. You wanna know what clued me in? His weapons of choice. Cause his hammers remind me all too well of a beloved character who also wielded a hammer but got her face transfigured into a pulp. I'm not trying to feel that again, but hammers are bad news, man. Yuto Suzuki, my guy, please just don't go gigi on us. But even though the hammers are a bad omen, I doubt Shishiba would go down without a fight. As one of the OGs of the order and Shishiba's old mentor, Satoru Yotsumura said Shishiba could be ranking way higher if his mindset was different. And he wasn't capping because Shishiba nearly took him out in a fight to death, only losing 2 fingers in the process. Even Kashima labeled Shishiba as an A-rank target on his list, so he's no joke. And Shishiba managed to hold his own against 2 of X's top fighters, Haruma and Kumanomi, fending them off for a while and only catching a few scratches. And when it came down to one-on-one with Kumanomi, he messed her up good, left her with some real damage, and even busted up part of her robotic arm. But if there is anyone who should be stronger than Shishiba, I think it'd be the current leader of the order, Oki. Now this guy has been an enigma so far, but with his nonchalant attitude towards everything, I have a sense Oki's just a different beast. Though he was first introduced in chapter 168, he was already hinted at back in chapter 14 when the remaining members of the order were first informed of X. He seems to have been sent away on a mission before the beginning of the series. To where? Nobody knows. But even on his first appearance, it's already hinted that he's a stickler for punctuality, like your homeroom teacher who chews you out even if you're a minute late in class. And with the way Shishiba, Kamihate, and Osaragi seemed excited at the prospect of him dying, it looks like he's gonna be a pain in the ass in the future. Which brings me to the next assassin on the list, Yoichi Nagumo. Now is it just me or are you also getting sus vibes from this guy? Like don't get me wrong, I'm always happy to see his goofy mug and I'm glad that this strong fighter is always out to help Sakamoto and the gang. But if there's anything I've learned from watching anime or reading manga, is that there's always that one friend who betrays the group in the end. Like how Aoyama betrayed Class 1A, or how Aizen betrayed Soul Society and left Hinamori for dead. And 9 times out of 10, it's either the close friend, or a relative of the MC, or the goofy but reliable guy who everyone seems to trust. What makes my spider senses tingle is how perfect his disguises are. Think about it. He perfectly imitated Sakamoto's looks and almost managed to fool Shin and Jiao Tang. If not for the obvious difference in personality and the real Sakamoto coming into the store at the same time. 2, his face just morphs into anyone he wants to look like he the male Mystique. 3, he can morph others into different people, like how he made Sakamoto look like his wife, Aoi. And he managed to fool everyone, even Uzuki, by swapping appearances with Gaku after he defeated him. Nagumo's level of disguise and deception makes me think the guy's hiding something, especially when he dodged Yotsumura's question about who he actually was working for. I mean, is he even actually the real Nagumo or just someone wearing Nagumo's face? Cause here's the thing, if he turns out to be an enemy, then we've got a huge problem. Dude's an amazing fighter. He made light work of Gaku and almost made him a permanent installation in the art museum called Man Decorated with Blades. Nagumo can use different melee weapons to his advantage. and he carries around a multi-tool with a bunch of blades that he used to relieve Minimalist of his head and swipe multiple assassins with a quick swoop before they could even react. Nagumo could never really defeat Taro though, but I don't want to think about what might happen if Broski goes all out. And number 4 is none other than the MC of the series, Taro Sakamoto himself. Now you might say, what? He's a main character, why'd you put him at number 4? He should be top G. That's because 1, he's not actually the strongest assassin, at least not yet. And 2, I'm not Delulu, okay? Taro might be the main character, but I believe that like Shin in the past, Sakamoto's been holding himself back from his true potential at the moment. Remember in chapter 188, when Torus the gambler got invited to dinner with Sakamoto's family? He was amazed at how Aoi was multitasking in the kitchen, using everything around her with perfect skill. Then Sakamoto went and did the same thing, by finishing the dish his wife was cooking. This means Sakamoto has an ability he hasn't tapped into yet, something that blew Torus's mind that he hadn't been using during their fights this whole time. I mean, the dude's strong enough as it is, but once he realizes the next evolution of his combat prowess, it's game over. Cause here's the thing, ever since this coach Anzai looking ass grew a moral compass, the limits set by the Sakamoto family rules made him more creative with his takedowns. Now I would argue that actually made him a lot stronger than he was before, because it takes great talent and skill to be a top assassin, but it takes even greater strength to take down your enemy without killing them. Dude messed up Kashima with only a Sugar-chan mechanical pencil, a coupon ad flyer, and a half-off sticker. From frying pans to signposts, to grab poles on the train, Sakamoto can John Wick his way out of every situation without actually killing anyone. It's no wonder Toromaru's so obsessed with him, and why Torus was pissed that he wasn't going 100% during their fights. Speaking of Torus, he's number 3 on this list. Now here's a question you might have. Can sandblasting really have that much power behind it? Because you've seen how Torus disintegrated a whole ass signpost, or deleted the entire floor of a hanging monorail. And you think, nah, that's not possible at all. But the thing is, sandblasters are extremely dangerous tools. Let's break it down a little bit. Sandblasting is often used to glam up certain surfaces. You've got compressed air or water, blasting sand or other grit at super speeds, and boom, rust, paint, dirt, gone. It's like a power washer on steroids, and you can even shape metal with it. But if you're not careful with using a sandblaster, you're going to be taking some major L's. For one, a sandblaster uses high pressure just like power washers. You aim it wrong or someone walks into the danger zone, instant RIP. It can rip through skin like butter. That's why you always keep that nozzle pointed away from you and others. And if you're not trained, you better leave it to the pros. The materials used in sandblasting can be harmful too. It's not just the dust it kicks up. Some of that grit has silica in it, which if you don't know can cause serious lung problems when you breathe it in. So the damage that Torus can do with his weapon is not actually that far off from what could happen in real life. But why is Torus still stronger than Sakamoto? Well, this old gambling addict has what Satora sensei had, years and years of experience. And it speaks for itself. Taro had lost to Torus 5 times already, even though he's one of the newest members of the Order. If Taro is having difficulties defeating Torus, then I doubt other members of the Order would do better. But once Taro discovers that missing piece in his combat style, then I don't know if Torus would stand a chance. Maybe then he'd be able to finally save Uzuki. Which brings me to my next theory about Kei Uzuki. But what if I told you that there's a chance that Sakamoto doesn't survive in the end because of Uzuki's OP ability? So hear this out. We already know that during stressful moments, Kei has a tendency to create personas of the people he knows. It's why he has a Rion Akao personality inside him, a version he created based off his memories of Rion when she died. But chapter 167 just revealed how dangerous Uzuki's dissociative identity disorder is. When in an overwhelming moment of stress, his mind split again and created a version of Takamura-san, who then disarmed the old man and cut him cleanly in half. Now here's my theory. I believe that at some point, Sakamoto will confront Uzuki and surpass him. Yes, even his Takamura-san version 2.0 persona. And in a fit of rage or stress, he's gonna end up copying Sakamoto himself, which is not looking good for the gang, seeing as how the people Uzuki copied are literally 6 feet under. I mean, can Sakamoto actually defeat a copy of himself? I don't know. Kei is already a very talented assassin as he is right now, even without his new brain roommate. He's literally slaughtered about 1/4 of the assassin industry in Japan, a feat so great that the whole order was forced to step in. Not to mention all the chaos that he and his team caused in Tokyo, Bureau of Ja, the JCC, and the Assassin Exhibition of the Century at the Okutabi Museum. If you add Uzuki's version of Sakamoto into his arsenal, I doubt Taro would survive the encounter in one piece. And at number 1 we have the gangster with the capital G himself, Takamura-san. Now you're probably thinking, but the old man died, didn't he? How could he be number one? Before I answer that question, there's this thing I want to talk about first. This thing we call a diamond. Forget adamantium for a second, or vibranium, or any other fictional substance from comic books. Diamond is the hardest material on Earth, and it's formed when carbon atoms get scrunched together by pressure and temperature 50,000 times greater than on the Earth's surface. In fact, it becomes so hard that the only way to cut a diamond before lasers were invented was with another diamond. You see where I'm going with this? Here, I'll spell it out for you. Old man Takamura was like a diamond, such that the only person who could cut down Takamura is himself. And even before Takamura-san died, the man was far from senile. Takamura's slashes remind me so much of Sukuna, the way he can just cut a building in two, or hack an entire chunk off the Tokyo Tower. Even the Order's trailer van was not safe when a fly got it. And though he couldn't see well anymore, Takamura-san could still smell hostility and bloodlust from his opponents. Nagumo almost went sayonara in chapter 165 when the old man found him and Sakamoto hiding in the fog and dust. But the fact that Takamura-san lost to Uzuki means that even the Order, the strongest, most elite killing squad in the assassin world, also have their own unique weaknesses.